Introducing Vision Lifestyle Trips. Travel more and save more. Create lifetime memories. Enhance your lifestyle and proven mental and health wellness. Get access to specially curated VIP private group vacations with member rates at high-end worldwide resorts and cruises. That is not all. Vision Lifestyle offers every major bucket list destinations worldwide that cannot be compared. Gain access to private hotel booking engine with member savings. As much as 80% at resorts worldwide. We offer member access to unlimited weekly vacation homes worldwide and as much as 50% off car rentals worldwide. With most major brands. Want to cruise? Vision Lifestyle offers access to global ocean and river cruises with upfront savings or back-end dollars to apply to future free travels. Need to fly? Get access to flights with all major airlines worldwide at the best airline published rates. It's known. Vacations make you happier. Happiness makes you healthier. Healthiness makes you wealthier. Become an Envision Lifestyle member today.
What's up? What's up? What's up, family? Happy Sunday, fun day. What is popping? What's good, everybody? Vincent is now officially okay. We always have so many dramatics going on before we hit the live button, everybody. So one day I'm gonna record the bloopers, but they're not gonna know it, so it could be real bloopers. Because if people know you're recording it, it's not really real bloopers. So I'm gonna record it and they're not gonna know what's going on. So as you guys are coming in, go ahead and share the show. Happy Sunday, fun day, everybody, wherever you are in the world. And as you can see, we have some amazing, amazing thought leaders on the panel tonight. We have the Dupria Williams, Dupria, aka the Natural Goddess, is in the building. So we're always gonna talk about the ladies first. Dupria, what's popping? Welcome.
A lot of greatness. We already 6 months in, and I'm like, Lord, okay.
Okay, sweet baby Jesus. We are here. Vincent, what's up? Y'all, I hit Vincent up on yesterday. This man is always on the grind somewhere. So I hit him up yesterday. Some people were looking for him, and they've been looking for him for 2 months. And they was like, where your boy at? Where your boy at? I said, let me call him real quick. He was like, oh, I can't come. I'm doing something. I was like, all right, bye. Every time he always adding value to somebody's child somewhere.
No, these are the adult ones, not the kiddos.
Well, it's not somebody's children.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
They weren't born by wolves now. They still somebody's children.
Some of them act like they were though.
I know, right? We ain't gonna tell nobody about that part. We're gonna keep it that. We're gonna tell nobody about that part. We're gonna tell nobody about that part. And we also have the usual suspect in the building, y'all. The troublemaker himself, actor, and other things. Don't look behind you. Don't look around. Jason Thibodeau is in the building with us. What up, J-Thib?
What up? How y'all doing?
All is good in the hood. Jason, it seems like I'm not gonna say it.
No, going on. Come on. Put me in the hot seat. What's up? What it seem like?
It just seems like that Jesus hair is it's growing all over the place.
Man, it is. I just watched it. It is not tame right now. This is me with nothing in it.
Jesus hair, y'all. We have a running joke with Jason because he has great hair, so we call it the Jesus hair. Matter of fact, one of our authors from another publication, Cisco Turpin, is the one that coined that phrase. Jason has the Jesus hair. Period.
Right. Nah, I just washed it. I don't have nothing in it. It's just brushed back and it's doing whatever it does as it
It
dries.
does
So
what
it
it
might end
does.
up like this in a little bit.
Listen,
Yeah,
listen.
that's why I have my
You
cap
got
on.
the Jesus hair. Yeah, Vincent got the Jesus hair too. He always hiding his though.
Oh yeah,
His
I got my
is more
cap
like
on.
his is more like the ultra perm style versus Jason's. He got more, he got more ultra perm.
My girl said ultra perm.
Vincent, you know I love you. You know you my kid, folks. You know you my kid, folks.
Hey man, I'm just
So listen,
listening.
everybody, listen. In the news here recently, now we are hearing, and it's getting more and more out there that allegedly the idea of eliminating income tax is going to come to pass under the tutelage of the current president. Now, in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, what is the real motive for why you're doing that? Based on what has been said in the news, of course, y'all know sometimes the news is just not true. Apparently, he has earned upwards of $1 billion since he's been in office. Upwards of $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can pretty much, I would think that could be very, very true. It could be
That
very,
was
very
funny.
true. But
Earned.
so yeah, earned. Now, of course, as a president, he won't be able to utilize it, but allegedly that is something that he's earned since he's been in office. But we will see in the next 3 years when he's actually out of office. So until then, we'll just see what everybody is saying about what is happening in the House of White, aka the White House. In other news, if you are open to owning your own businesses, I'm talking about like for real businesses, traditional businesses, one of the main ways to do that is to buy a laundromat. I've been studying and researching this over the past couple of years, and I'm kind of gearing towards possibly going ahead and pulling the trigger on that to get a laundromat. I was reading something here recently. There was a laundromat that was up for sales like 240,000, and they're saying that the return on investment, dig this, out of most traditional businesses, the return on investment for a laundromat is usually at least 100% in the first year. Very interesting.
Believe it? I can believe
I
it.
can definitely believe it. And it's based on location. So if you have it in a very solid location, meaning that it needs to be around some apartment complexes and different things like that, where you're going to get a significant amount of traction, you literally can get back your whole investment in the same year that you purchase a laundromat, which is very, very interesting to say the least. But I thought that was very intriguing. I was like, And if you ever notice in a laundromat, they have minimal employees as well. So they don't have a lot of employees or anything like that. They have very minimal amounts of employees in laundromats as well. And the maintenance is really not that high on average. So long as you get one that is where the machines are newer, you should be good for the first 3 to 5 years as far as maintenance is concerned. But do your own due diligence, do your own research, and of course, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong after you do some due diligence and some research, so we can talk about it. Oh, somebody that's supposed to be on the show is in the comments. It's in the comments. But we're not going to talk about the comments section right now with another one of our troublemakers that is on our panel, my sister Tanisha. She is taking care of other affairs today, y'all. So we just miss her presence today, but she is in the audience. Another business, before we start talking about our topic for tonight, another great business is to find something in direct sales. For the most part, indirect sales in that industry, you're going to start with little overhead, anywhere from $499 or less to get the business started. And you can position yourself at that point to be able to write that off as a business in your taxes, so long as you're putting it under a business entity. You got to get a business name, business entity, in order to be able to do that, so that you don't have to pay taxes on that under your personal, because guess what? You're going to still have to deal with internal revenue unless it is dissolved. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? We shall see. Anywho, on to the topic of discussion for tonight. I'm super excited about this topic. We put together quite a number of topics for the next about 6 months, but recently we've been talking about inheritance and generational paths that we need to take in order to leave our footprint in the earth. And this week is no different because we're in the series right now. And I think we're going to kind of come to the end of the series after this discussion. This is not going to be an easy topic for discussion, but it's going to be extremely thought-provoking. And I want you guys that are in the audience that experience this session, I want you to really, really think about what it is that we're sharing tonight, because it's going to be very, very important for you to consider. So our topic for tonight is healing generational wounds, the role of love in family restoration. The role of love in family restoration. You know, one of the biggest challenges that we all will have to face is the fact that there's a strong probability that there'll be some form of offense within the scope of our nuclear family. Some type of offense will happen within the scope of our nuclear family. On average, according to Psychology Today, and one of my psychology books, and forgive me, the name escapes me right now, it says that about 87% of families, nuclear families, I'm not talking about extended families, have some form of dysfunctionality attached to that family, be it from prior generations affecting the current generation, or the current generation affecting a future generation. So it's a high probability that there's going to be some type of challenge inside the nucleus of a family. So what is the role of love in family restoration? Lady Dupriya, ladies first. We're going to let the ladies start us off tonight. Lady Dupriya,
Right.
hey, Chica. Hola, Chica.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey. So talk to us. I know that you're in the healing space as I am, as far as healing practitioner work is concerned, with the communities that we are involved in. And I know you see a lot of this dealing with restoration of families. What would you say the role of love is as it pertains to restoring families?
This is amazing. First of all, this topic is everything to me, and I love how we talk about really deep things that matters, that can help others along their journey. For me, thinking about the role of love when it comes to healing is simply grace and seeing yourself in the other person. When you are looking at someone's flaws or their faults or things that they have done that contributed to the hurt or the pain of the family, you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes enough for you to still love them throughout the healing process. And I say this because many times in our community, we have experienced so much pain and hurt and just craziness to the point where you want to just escape your family. You don't want to have any ties to them. You want to just start all over with, new people, new area. But in turn, a lot of times if you don't allow yourself that chance to dig deep enough to see where you can heal from the situation and know how to navigate that a bit differently, you may have those triggers still underlining, and it show up in your relationship, in your children, how you handle conflict, how you build relationships with other people. It shows up in many ways. So having the grace to love them for who they are, where they are, and also seeing yourself in their shoes, that can just change the whole trajectory of the healing journey.
I love that. The grace. Grace is something that we all need. It's funny because there's a movie called War Room. And in that movie, it's a really, really powerful movie because, and this makes me think about that. It's a powerful movie about a husband and a wife who were having some extremely challenging marital issues that almost turned into an affair. And the lady meets an elderly woman who is a very spiritual human, and she wants to teach her how to impart that spirituality into the saving grace of her relationship. And interestingly enough, she asked her to come up with a document, share with her the things that she found to be challenging about her relationship with her husband. And interestingly enough, she had about 4 or 5 pages worth of things that she found to be negative about her spouse. And the elderly lady says, and her name is Miss Claire in the film, and she says to her, she says, you just about everything you have for your husband is negative, huh? And she said, I could have wrote more stuff, but you'll get it once you read it. And she said, I'm not gonna read it. And she said, well, why not? She says, don't you think he deserves, do you not think that Tony deserves grace? And it was interesting as to how she had to really look inside herself to really think about the fact that not only did he need grace, she did too. She needed some grace, because if you're dealing with somebody in your family dynamic and every single thought of them is negative, man, that's really, really hard to overcome that if everything in your mind is negative. And so that was really, really a powerful, powerful movie, in that she shared that about that grace, about what grace will do and how important grace is in a relationship. And when you think about it, we were talking about dissolved relationships in one of our prior shows, and grace is needed in that too. It's truly, truly needed in that, if we're going to be able to sustain the family and still be able to work together if there's children involved, or other variables that are involved to where we still have to address and deal with each other. I met somebody yesterday, and I know some of you guys have had friends that have had these experiences, if not in your own personal lives, where the lady was talking about how her next steps in her life would require her to have to go back to her ex-spouse in order for her to be able to get his name off the house, for her to be able to move forward with having a name in her house and moving on to the next facet of her life. And so think about it. That's going to be a grace conversation, to say, hey, I want to go ahead and buy you out. I want to buy you out so that I can move on with my life. And those things are going to have, it's inevitable that some things like this may happen in our lives. So how do we deal with that? How do we extend that grace to people that we feel don't even deserve it? Vincent, what you thinking over there?
I know, right?
You look like you're in heavy meditation. You want to open your mic?
Hey, Vincent, what's up, man?
You want to open your mic? You over there looking like you in heavy meditation, your eyes closed, you praying over
I'm sitting here thinking about I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm taking it all in. Here's the thing. A lot of times, like you say, with families, in order for you to prevent it, you need to have grace for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people project their hurt onto situations. And that's why we have issues within our own relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not there, and it affects others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with that being said, if that is allowed, the other stuff can heal. Because I'm listening to what you said about that movie, and I remember that movie.
Yeah.
Everything was about what he was not, but nothing about what she was. That's why I say they project their hurt onto other people. In actuality, they're not looking at themselves in a true light. And there's nothing wrong with being hurt. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable, because that's how you heal. Because if you really care about that person, you'll heal yourself, or allow yourself to be healed, or someone to help you. But in turns, a lot of times they're combative and they don't want to hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the hurt talking. And I think that's what prevents a lot of it. Carries on generational. We already talk about generational curses, or whatever you want to say it, but that stuff is projected onto your kids. And if you want to talk on another metaphysical level, if it's not corrected, DNA doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And DNA is very powerful. A lot of people don't understand that. It's very powerful. The sins of the parents will transfer over to those kids.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about some serious stuff that has to be fixed within yourself, so you can pass on good things. That's why it's good to show your kids what love look like, affection, proper and correct affection and love.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people think they can love us, they're showing love like it should be, but really it's not. And one of the
That
big things is having grace for each other. If you listen, there's a lot of ways you can love someone. Grace is
Mm-hmm.
one of them.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
You got to be consciously aware though. A lot of people just not aware of how they are and how they are showing up. Like
Mm-hmm.
the lady in the movie, she's been keeping count of all the negative things, but what about the good
Mm-hmm.
things? And then
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
if you're someone who's keeping count, how are you showing up intentionally in present of grace? How are you doing that if you keep account of everything that I do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You're
Mm-hmm.
not.
Mm-hmm.
You're human just
And
like
it's
I am.
and it's funny that you say that. I think honestly, in this is the certified coach in me. I think men don't say it. Women will say it, but men still take tally of it. They
Yeah.
don't express it like we do. Like,
Ask, us, ask yourself this, Coffee. Why do you think men don't say something about it?
well, I'm not a man, so I'm sure you'll tell me.
No, yeah, but we had
But
these
let me finish
conversations
what I was
all the
saying.
time. The
I think
reason,
I think the genders. I'm gonna finish this real quick, and I'll give it over to you.
okay,
When we're younger, we take on a portion of what we experience in those formidable years from 0 to 7. Everything is just sponged in, it's just absorbed and sponged in. And for the most part, the men around us, they're pretty solemn, they're pretty quiet, they internalize, they do more internalized than external communicating. And the women happen to express more vocally than the men do. And then it goes on, like you talked about the DNA, that transfers into the DNA of that boy. And over time, he starts to have that same mannerism, that same behavior as he sees dad have. And then that turns into another generation and another generation. But the dilemma with that is that it causes all types of challenges internally in that man's body temple as a result of him not releasing whatever he needs to release that he's experiencing. Now, of course, we don't, like Lady Priya was just talking about, we don't want, to deal with a person who every time there is something that's going awry, you got to hear about it 3, 4, 5 weeks from now. But I do think it's very important that if there is something that you see as some type of pattern that is challenging and offensive to you, I think that it's imperative that it's addressed, because eventually what does not explode, what is not addressed will cause a person to explode in one way, shape, or form. It could be in other behavior patterns. It could be all kinds of stuff that happens as a result of that, or they can implode, meaning they'll end up having some type of medical challenges as a result of harboring all of that adverse energy, internalizing it into the body temple, which weighs on our organs over time and causes us to have all kinds of stuff going on in our
Yeah.
body temples. So basically, go ahead with what you were saying, but I just wanted to share that part about, I think it's just important when we talk about this, that love aspect. Love means that I'm open to listening to what you're saying that is not working for us. And I'm also open to correcting what I know offends you. That is definitely grace, and that is love, and that is something that will help to sustain a relationship over time. And that is a definite display of that love that we have for a person. The fellows wrote a book called "You Say You Love Me, but Do You Respect Me?" I think, Jason, you were a part of that project, I believe. And that book was
Mhm.
really, really powerful in that a lot of men and a lot of ladies picked up that book. It had a lot of powerful content in it. And if anybody wants it, you can just comment book, and I will send you a link, and we will cover the book for you at no cost to you. You just have to pay for the shipping. But that book is very, very powerful in that it really, really helps people to kind of look at themselves instead of their person. But it was written by 15 men. You say you love me, but do you respect me? And it is very interesting as to how we as women think that we're expressing love for our mate when love translated for them is respect. But go ahead, Vincent.
Uh, like you were saying, I think a lot of times, how can I say this? Men
Say it, say
internalize.
it, just say it, Vincent.
Now I'm trying to be
Don't
That's the
worry about
problem.
it.
We
politically
always
correct.
trying to be PC. Sometimes you just need to
Yeah,
say it,
yeah.
bro.
Say it,
Now
Vincent.
Step on some toes. You
a
be all
lot
right.
of time, well, Jesse, I don't got no problem with that, but I'm trying to be a little
Don't
nice.
try to be anything but who you are.
Okay, well, hey,
Say it
here's
with
the
your
thing.
chest.
Here's the thing. A lot of times men internalize and keep that stuff in because it's going to come with some kickback. And see, here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. If that man is keeping that in, he knows that woman is going to have kickback with what he says. So guess what?
Mm-hmm.
If you got true grace, then guess what comes with grace? The ability to communicate.
Okay, but with you saying that, you just said communicate. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not willing to say it with your chest, stand on how you feel and what you think that is important for your partner to hear, you got to stand on what comes with it. Now,
Dupree,
your
most
But
of
that,
y'all
approach,
can't take it when we say it
but
with our chest.
man,
you're
boy.
right, but I'm saying your approach can easily change things. Your approach. And even
No.
Nah.
one thing that I
That
learned in
Go ahead. Go ahead and finish it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I
one
didn't mean
thing
to
that
cut
I
you off.
learned in customer service, sometimes you gotta dress it up and make it real, and then put that like a sandwich. You gotta start with the good, put that problem in there, then finish off with good. But setting the tone can help. Other times, it just depends on what it is. Honestly, it just depends
I
on
agree.
what it is. But you
Yes.
gotta be able to communicate effectively in order for your voice to be heard, for your concerns to be recognized, for you to be received and accepted so it doesn't continue,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The
Yeah.
challenge is what you consider effective ain't the same way that we consider effective. Because here's the deal: most
Yep.
likely, if it came out raw and it came out rough, etc., chances are he probably mentioned something to you before it either went right over your head or you just weren't concerned. Now it's really under his skin, and now he's expressing himself the only way that he knows how to. Or if you are not being as feminine at that particular point, and he sees it as a way to maybe talk with a friend or a homie or whatever, you're gonna catch it the way that it comes out. See, here's the deal: you can't say, "Well, I need you to communicate with me, but it has to be like this." No,
Yeah.
either communication is communication. Now, it ain't always a comfortable communication. It ain't always going to come out the way that you want to. Y'all
Mm-hmm.
think that everything y'all say is sugar spice and everything nice, and a lot of times it's not.
Well, I'm not gonna
You
say
Yeah,
think
I'm
yeah,
that
not
it
gonna
yeah,
is,
say
it's
yeah.
not.
y'all.
Women,
It's
I'm
just
not
the
gonna
y'all
fact.
say
It's
could
just the
be
fact that he didn't talk to you back. He
I'm
didn't.
not gonna say
because
No, no,
y'all
I'm just saying it's
because
just a factor of that y'all. A
well,
lot of times y'all are rude as hell, and y'all sit there and
yes.
say something at your dude. But if it wasn't for the fact that you was a woman, he'd probably knock your head off your shoulders. You know what I'm saying? So he just internalizes it. He knows that he's talking to a lady, and then he just goes on about his business. I guarantee you, the way that a lot of y'all women come at your dude, if you was another dude, some of y'all be missing teeth. I'm just being
okay.
honest with you.
I'll say this, and I've said this to many female friends, cousins. If you really knew the conversations that men have when y'all not around, a lot of y'all feelings would be hurt, and you would hold resentment toward the men because a
Yeah.
lot of times you can. It doesn't matter how long you communicate, how your approach with it. If that woman has it set in her head that it's not what she wants, you can't change that.
Yeah.
You can't. So all you do, so guess what ends up happening? That man is quote unquote like a punching bag. He deals with all that the the harshness that comes from you guys. Because actually, honestly, men are more tactful with our words than a woman is. Because whatever particular mode you in at that time, it's gonna come exactly out how it is. Every time.
Based on your
And
feelings.
see, guess what? And a
Feelings.
lot of times, if a man, we have to monitor our emotions with you guys because guess what? You don't want to come out this week and and y'all will look at that and say you're too emotional, you this and this. So you can't have it the way you want it. And see, that's where the problem comes in. And that comes from you have to be really talking, spending time with each other, and understanding that gay. If I can't be vulnerable with you, literally, why am I with you?
Yes.
You can't pick and choose when I be vulnerable with you, because I don't. 9 times out of 10, whatever situations that women go to, whether you upset, you're crying, bad day, a man will sit there and be non-judgmental. Let a brother do that. You might not say nothing right off, but it comes with other stuff. So that's what I'm saying.
Dang, you whining again?
Yeah,
Just suck it up. Just
yeah.
this, just that.
But
It's
guess
like, wait
what?
a minute.
That's
Yesterday
the
I was
thing.
listening to you crying.
That's the
I had
thing.
to pick you up off the floor. What are you talking about?
We signed up to be each other's strength.
Yes. Yes.
That's what you
Right.
signed up for. If you don't want that, then guess what? Stay by yourself.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I agree with a lot of what y'all saying, and I think that um, both parties, if you're not willing to hold the other person up when they are in a moment of need and of strength and sacredness, then why are you in a relationship? And for the men, y'all be sticking beside them. It's like, dang, you can't. Your voice don't get heard. Your needs are not met. What are you there for? You know what I mean?
And you know what's interesting that you say
Because we
that? A
taking
lot of
L.
guys will, oh man, a lot of guys will. Let me go back to what Vincent said. Unfortunately, I have been privy to a lot of those conversations because I have 5 brothers. And I can attest that it can be some of the stuff that they've said about the women in their lives. I just kind of would have rather not been there and
But
would
see,
have
guess
rather not
what though?
heard it.
It's good for you to see that transparency, Coffee, because that's the conversation. They don't view you as a sister. You like one of the homies. That's how they view you.
Listen, that's what the problem was. I was like, hey, y'all
But
can't
know
be
what
saying
though?
this
But that's
around
the
me.
good thing. You get the both sides of the coin. I got my sister, she's my homie, and she's a female. So you get a chance to see.
Listen.
Don't be
While
scared,
that was
Coffee.
while that was wonderful and all hunky dory, the bigger challenge was, why why do you not feel that this conversation can be held with the person that is offending you? You saying this in another environment, and this is, men, every human being will act out at some point if their need isn't being met. I don't care what nobody says. There's something that a
Yeah.
person will
Mhm.
do to act out the expression that I need attention, right? So, whereas one of my siblings may have looked for attention in this area, another one looked for it in that area, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I would ask them, why haven't you gone to this person, the person that you've committed yourself to let them know what it is that you're dealing with, what the real problem is, and how you're feeling? And
Why do you feel that they didn't?
one of my brothers told me one time, he said, ain't no need of me going to talk to her because she not gonna she not gonna listen to what
What
I'm
did I
saying. She's gonna
what did I
think
say?
that what I'm saying is not real according to what she perceives to be real. And it's going to turn into a big argument and a debate. And I said, okay,
Like
so you're
he
going to
said,
keep
the
doing what you're
consequence.
going to keep doing this part then. And you're going to keep doing this part. And I'm not going to
Yeah.
say what it is because, somebody on here might know one of my brothers.
Yeah.
But, the challenge with that was, over time, it just wears down the
Yeah.
foundation. It just
Mhm.
kills the foundation. Just imagine if you were to put a hole in your floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you put something in that would cause the foundation to kind of be disrupted. If you just pour water in that hole over and over and over again, and just over time, how that water is just going to cause it to expand, and then that expansion, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you're going to cause that foundation to be totally messed up in that particular area. And that's how relationships are. They will erode over time if they're not addressed. They will start to erode, and they'll erode because it'll be a little bitty hole. It'll be a little bitty hole, and it'll be something will be poured into that little bitty hole that will disrupt the actual foundation, and then it's just going to cause it to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I
Okay.
think the grace to open yourself up as a woman to just be receptive is something that women have to grow into. We have to grow into that aspect of our womanhood. And a lot of times that comes from being surrounded by women who understand the dynamics of relationship and women who also understand the importance of being everything, not just bits and pieces, but everything that their husband needs for them to be. And I think that comes over time. It is a learned behavior, it's an intentional behavior, and it's a behavior that we as women have to learn to embrace if we've never actually seen it displayed.
Yeah, it comes from healing though, and that was my next question. Do you think that the lack of you being able to feel comfortable and safe enough for you to communicate your needs, even after you have been dismissed or disregarded in the past, comes from a lack of healing from past situations, and also vice versa for a woman? Sometimes they are so unaware of how they're showing up in their relationship due to them focusing on things that they have not healed from. And does that make a healthy relationship? I don't
Of
think so
course not.
on
Of
either
course
side.
not.
So it's like, why are you in a relationship if you're not willing to go through the tough things? I'm a person, I can have tough conversations. You don't have to set the tone. You don't have to say it to me nice, but I would rather you express to me how you feel so I can know how to internalize, accept, and navigate going forward. Because if we're thinking about longevity, how we, like you said, the foundation is looking real rocky. It's looking
Right.
like we on the last leg.
And sometimes men just have to not soften the blow.
Yeah.
I
just
don't.
Just
just
be
blow up.
real.
Oh, we know you don't.
Exactly.
We already know you don't.
Jason, you a whole nother
We know
person.
you
We not
don't.
But
even we
hey,
not even
I
gonna
will rip the band-aid off in a
hey,
heartbeat.
but the thing is though, you have to learn tact with dealing with a woman.
That's
You
true.
True.
cannot, you cannot. If you want that relationship to work, you cannot be the proverbial a-hole all the time. You can't even be that 50% of the time. Maybe 30, 40, you got to regulate it, because at the same time, that creates an unsafe space for that woman when she's on eggshells.
Yeah.
And she's gonna shut down and she ain't gonna talk to you at all. So
Mhm.
my question is, based on everything we said, is both sides need to communicate with each other and don't take issues in relationships and
Yes.
stuff lightly. If something happened, you jump right in on it. And that's
Mhm.
spending time with each other,
Mhm.
talking and just getting to know each other. We hear this all the time. A lot of people say that you have to date each other for the rest of your life if this is who you're gonna be with.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You
You
know
met
something else too? It's like understanding that when challenge or adversity rise, you have to understand that it's you and this person against the situation, not you versus the other person. And
Mhm.
I'm really big on that. Like it, whatever the situation is, we gonna get through it together. It's not
Mhm.
about what. It's not about me being against you or you being against me. No, I'm still gonna handle you with grace because I love and care for you, and I want us to get past this point. But
Mhm.
vice versa, I want you to handle me with care because after this situation is over, you gonna want to be in my face, and I'm not gonna want to look at
mm,
you.
see,
And
that's why I said
you
what I
want to go
said.
play hide the rainbow roll.
Yeah, like I still want you to handle me with care because you want me to still give you that respect that you deserve as a man, right? So it's not about the problem per se. It's about how we handle each other in those moments of conflict because we have to get
Mhm.
over it.
Mhm.
We
It's
have to find
easy,
that
yeah.
resolve.
It's easy to say you down with someone when it's good. How are
Yes.
you? How are you when it's really, really bad at the thick of
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
everything? Are you gonna stand there 10 toes and be firm, or are you gonna fold and run?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Facts.
And
always, oh, we gonna break up and don't call me and block me. No, like what are we doing?
Yeah.
We too old for this. What are we doing?
Facts. Facts.
and,
Facts. Go
and
Go
ahead,
that
go get
Jason.
a
I know.
therapist. Go get some help. It's okay. We can come back together.
Period. I know Jason was gonna say something.
mm,
Nah, y'all actually hit on it. Because what I keep hearing and what I really like that Dupria said is that, and I'm happy that that both of y'all, Coffee and Dupria, were both talking towards the women, not
mm,
at them, but talking to them. Because Vincent and I, we've had conversations about this before. Coffee, you and I have had conversations about this before. when you grow up and you actually walk as an adult and you look at your what you brought to the table, and whether it was good or bad in a relationship, you have to have what most women don't like to talk about these days, and that's accountability. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And if you're accountable for your part in there, good and bad, in a particular relationship, then it makes it easier to be able to talk through issues.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the deal. As a man, yes, we might eventually blow up, and everything. And a lot of times y'all end up blowing up on us. But this is what the conversation should technically sound like. What are we going to do to solve this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you hear that at the end of anybody voicing a challenge? You don't hear it very often. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
you did this, and this, and now I'm pissed. Thank you. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? It's like, whatever happened to us working together and say, okay, well, thank you for expressing that. Yes, that did hurt, whatever. What are we going to do moving forward? How are we going to correct this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes from taking pride out of the situation.
Thank you.
And like I said, you don't sit there, and we've talked about this before in past shows, and I know a lot of men do this. I'm advocating for the sisters now. She'll be okay.
Hmm.
Nah, man. You need that should never come out your mouth. You should always, you know what, man, I need to fix this so we can
Mm-hmm.
get past this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cause see,
I
that's
agree.
going that shows, and Koffe and Dupree are telling me if I'm right, that shows a sense of urgency that you care about your feelings with the issue.
Right.
The
Very
longer
much
you
so.
drag it out, the less y'all feel that it is
Yeah.
you care.
It's no
Hmm.
connection. It's like the longer you take for to have some resolve, we don't have to understand exactly how to move forward in this moment. But I need you to at least show me that you're on my side. So we on the
Mm-hmm.
same team, like we still here, we still together. So we
Right.
can figure out what's the best way for us to move forward. How can we make this situation better for both of us?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, to where to
Agreed.
where to where the benefit is not one-sided, to where
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the pendulum is swinging way high for this one and it's way low for the other person. But
Mm-hmm.
we need to learn how to have some type of middle ground to where there's
Mm-hmm.
not a deficit. That's another challenge that people have when it comes to relationships, is that they feel like that middle ground is, oh yeah, I won. No, it needs to be a win-win if it's a relationship that you
Yeah.
really, really want to
Mm-hmm.
preserve and grow in. It doesn't need to be a win-lose, because at some point that deficit is just making that crack in that foundation even bigger. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point it's
Yeah.
going to be irreparable. They won't be able
Mm-hmm.
to fix it. They
If
won't
you
be able to.
feel like at the end of a conversation, I won, if that even crosses your mind, you need to grow the hell up.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not
I
ready.
mean,
You're not
seriously, I
ready.
don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
Yeah.
know a softer way to say that. You need to
Yeah.
grow up. At the end of a
Yeah.
conversation, if there's a discrepancy, you feel
Mm-hmm.
like I won. You don't need to be in that
Mhm.
relationship. You need to grow up,
Absolutely.
and you need to go get some therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Instead
Yeah.
of saying that, you should appreciate the fact that your voice was heard, because
There you
both of
go.
y'all come together. And I
Mhm.
don't think a lot of people do that, and that's where that selfishness and that pride comes in. And like Jason said, a high level of immaturity,
Yeah.
Mhm.
relationship immaturity, so to speak.
So how do we take that repair and turn it into a legacy building experience?
Well,
Getting
I'll
past it.
I'll say this, and I'm a really big advocate for it because of childhood trauma and growing up in toxic situations and where I see my life going. I am really big on telling or being open to the idea of therapy, couples retreats, taking the time to do exercises together that causes both of y'all to think, thought provoking conversations or activities to where y'all can be intimate and be open and honest, creating that sacred space, whether it's something non physical or having a physical space in your house where these rules apply. When I'm talking or I'm holding it, you cannot talk. No talking over
Mhm.
each other, creating those boundaries, creating that dynamic of how we can grow in our love, in our sacredness, even if it's family member. You have to create that too. And if the other person is not willing, what am I doing?
Period.
Mm-hmm.
For
Period.
me, I would say that I put it this way. You talking about leaving behind a legacy, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the easiest things to do is to walk in the right light. Because when you are walking in the right light, other people are paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's put it this way. Even if we're not even talking about family members, we've all gone to Kroger and have noticed like a young man or young lady who is walking and presenting themselves in a good light, right? You may
Mm-hmm.
not always walk up and say, hey, you know what? I see you. You're doing a good job or whatever, but you
Mm-hmm.
notice them. And even when you see them outside of that job, you will see how they're walking. So
Mm-hmm.
you're noticing them. And if you're noticing them, that means they're noticing you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're handling yourself maturely and you're taking care of business and stuff, like I have a buddy of mine that I grew up with. I was privy to a conversation that her and her husband were having when they were considering moving overseas because of her job.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually warmed my heart because they sat down and they just started laying a lot of stuff out on the table. What about the kids? What about our assets? What about this? What about that? And they were talking with each other, and that made me feel very good. And it was great to see that to where, I try to do that at the household as well, and also with my kids, right? And I tried to
Mm-hmm.
talk to them like, hey, what about this? Let's think this whole thing through. So when you see that kind of stuff, you try to mimic it. And when you actually do succeed at doing it, other people take notice as well. You don't always have to have an aha moment.
Yeah,
They just start to notice how you carry yourself,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if that
that's
makes
huge.
sense.
That's huge.
Yeah, and people notice that you have something, an aura about you that you're doing the work, the internal work.
Yeah,
Hmm.
That you're doing that internal work for it to reflect externally.
Right.
Um,
that's you setting a new
I mean,
standard for the generations after.
that's the
Yeah.
legacy production right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because we
It's
need to
setting
be
those
getting along.
standards.
Yeah,
Absolutely, it's setting those standards to show them healthy displays of love. I remember one time having a conflict with my person, and I remember saying to myself, "Don't say nothing right now. Just wait," because the children were like in earshot. And I said, just don't say nothing right now, just wait. And so I waited until like later that day to talk about the situation. I just said, oh, okay, okay. And another display. Now it doesn't even have to be family. Somebody mentioned this earlier. I'm not sure who said it. I think it was Jason who said it didn't necessarily have to be family. This same display, you can show it at work.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
You know, in the environment that we're in right now, a lot of us work from home, meaning that our children end up seeing us at work. What are we teaching them
yeah,
when it comes to the conflicts that we may have to face at work? Are we showing the respect and honor to those that have the say so over our decisions as it pertains to whatever company or brand that we represent? Are we combative and showing that, and showing airs of disrespect, or speaking against speaking ill about the person in the presence of the children and things like that? That is setting up for dysfunctionality in the workplace in the future.
yeah,
We're in a whole different type of work environment now. So you can imagine if somebody is doing this and they doing it in front of their children, and their children as they're growing up, they're like, I don't have to respect my boss for what? I don't have to do all that. My mama didn't do it. My daddy didn't do it. I used to hear them all the time when they were talking to their, when they were talking, or they were on the phone talking about them, or yada, yada, yada. And there is another set of behaviors that are being transferred to the next generation. So we have to be cognizant of every single relationship. Or, another thing that is a forward passing thing is that I've seen more now than I have in a while, is that paying it forward. You see somebody in the grocery store, they have 2, 3 items, and you're in position to take care of it. Let them go ahead and go. You take care of it. Take care of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Because sometimes I remember I did that recently, and this lady, she literally waited outside the store for me, and she's like, can I hug you? I was like, yeah, girl. She was like, I was coming in here to get this, and this was the last money that I had. This was the last money that I had. And man, I just appreciate you. I said, hey, you know, sometimes I feel that you will feel it you'll feel it in you when you
Yeah.
need to do it for real. It will literally almost choke you like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can sense it and you can feel it. It is a very strong tugging when it's something that you need to do. And I just told her, I said, girl, listen, one day this what I did today for you, you're gonna be doing it for all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to restaurants, done the same thing. I mean, me and one of my homegirls was in a restaurant in Galleria, and when we went to pay, it was like somebody paid for you. People were gone already, but it was like somebody already took care of it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because we had brought the place up. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I was like, wow, that was awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
just times like that where we can pay it forward, where we can show our children the paying it forward, the taking care of somebody else. You know, I'll say this
Mm-hmm.
and I'll yield over to whoever wants to go. But I remember when my son was in high school, there was this little boy who was being bullied real bad. The boy has a deficit, a learning disability. And my son used to be frustrated with the other students because they used to treat this little boy so bad, like they treated him horrible. But my son was willing to fight and get kicked out of school over defending this little boy's honor. And I said, why was this so important to you? He said, Mom, do you know how painful it is for somebody to pick on you? He was like, do you know how
Mm-hmm.
how much suffering comes with that? This little boy has a learning disability. He's not doing this because he want to do it. He's not
Right.
acting like this because he want to act like this. There is something going on with him, and they need to leave
Mm-hmm.
him alone. Somebody needs to
Mm-hmm.
defend his honor. And I was
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
telling my son, I said, you know, it took a lot of courage for you to pay it forward because you could have been met with all kinds of opposition from your classmates. And he was like, I was willing to face whatever I had to face because that little boy he already suffering enough. He don't need to suffer at their hands too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy you said that because with my children, I'm always telling them when they're at school, treat others how you want to be treated because you just
Absolutely.
never know what they're experiencing at home. And
Yep.
I say that due to things that I've experienced, like school was an escape. So if I have to go to school and experience something tragic or, a student, then it's just like, oh my God, it's adding to you. So I
Right.
always
Mhm.
tell my children, be kind to other students. You never know
Mm-hmm.
what they are experiencing or what's going on in their mental or whatever's, and you
Mhm.
don't ever want to be the cause of someone tipping over the edge. I say that
Mm-hmm.
to adults too. You never
Mm-hmm.
want to be the reason why somebody decide to take themselves out of here.
That's the truth. All facts. Very,
Wow.
very true. Very true. Oh man, I knew this was gonna be a deep conversation, man. Like seriously deep, But it's much needed. One thing that we talked about before we went into the season, even with the editor in chief that we deal with, was that we were going to talk about real topics. We were going to deviate from being so laxed about life and what's really happening in people's homes and their hearts on a continuous basis. People are facing some serious adversity and some very serious challenges in their homes and in their workplaces and things like that. And they need to know that there are other ways to address things or other ways to handle things. And I'm really excited about the shares that you guys did on tonight as you were expressing how we can show and extend that grace card to the people in our lives so that the next generation behind us, when we close our eyes for the last time, they won't repeat the same things that we repeated that were not necessarily for the betterment of
Mm-hmm.
our relationships and the people that we have been partnered with over time. It's so important that we change that. We change how we look at things. We change how we do things. And sometimes it's better late than never. Sometimes the repentance comes when you get older. I've literally gotten on the phone with some of my elderly family members and they were like, man, I really hate that I did such and such and such and such when I was younger. And I just want to repent to you because I'm not going to be here forever. I just want you to know that I'm definitely sorry.
Man.
I'm sorry that I offended you in that way. I'm sorry that I did that. And I'm like, hey, man, I forgave you a long time ago because if I walk around with unforgiveness, it's going to affect me. It ain't got nothing to do with you. So I had to release you a long time ago for my own sanity's sake, for my own mental sake. And we got to have people around us and in our lives and friends that we can lean into that can rebuke and correct us, not just people that are in our lives that are going to cheer us on for everything, because every single human being has times in their life where they've done something or are currently doing something that's not in the best interest of either themselves or somebody that's directly affected by their behavior. And we need somebody to say something to us sometimes. Like just last week, Jason and I were at a convention, him and a couple other of our business partners. And one of the speakers was talking about how some of the people that were there, they were rebuking them openly and said, hey, why were you in the club last night? Why were y'all out partying last night? And that's not why we're here. That's not what we do. And that right there is going to affect change in the future. Because now you got those same young people thinking about the timing. What timing am I in, and how am I supposed to behave during this time? Not to suggest that you can't do what you do, you can't kick it, you can't hang out, you can't enjoy life, but there is a time and a place for everything. And this was not the time, and it definitely was not the place for you to be doing, popping off like that and doing things like that. So I really appreciated that, and I appreciate it because the guy that said it was 23. He was 23 years young. And so you can imagine how the people in the room, it wasn't coming from what they call us old heads. It wasn't coming from somebody twice their age. It was coming from somebody that was in their age group. And look at how that's going to help to change how they do things, how they present themselves, and how they grow from a business perspective. A lot of these young people are not going to have jobs. Let's just face it. They're not going to ever go to nobody's job. They'll never, ever set foot in a job.
No.
They need to know how to handle themselves as business people. And not just say, I got this bread, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. No, there is certain things that come along with you having that bread. It's a certain way that you have to carry yourself and a certain way that you have to behave. And so we have to make sure that, our young people that are having those experiences, that we are that beacon for them, and we show them how to behave, not by what we're saying, but by how we're living. Yeah. That is more important than anything, because the real change comes with how we live and not what we say.
Yep.
For sure.
Who you are when no one is watching you is the real you.
Absolutely.
How you show up for yourself is how you show up for everything. So yeah.
Period. So yeah, Jason been showing up for himself in the gym and stuff. He was working out. Go, Jason.
Hold on, baby.
Yeah.
Hold on, baby. Yeah.
Jason was like, y'all don't mess with me right now. I've been in the gym, baby.
Already.
Jason has been showing up with his acting, all of his business stuff, and he's in that gym. Okay.
Look, he been showing up with it. Listen, he been showing up
y'all, man.
And everything. He been doing business and carrying on over there. Like, what's going on?
Hey, and like you paying it forward. There was a young man that was there. His card wasn't working, and I was like, "How much was that?" He was like, "Some." And I was like, "Back up." And that's what he needed to see was an OG step in there and say, "Hey, I got you, man." And then I turned around and but remember what I was saying earlier. I turned around and because I've been talking to him for like 10 minutes because that line was long at that Starbucks. And I turned around and I was like, "Hey, man, you're doing a real good job and stuff." I didn't know his mom was like ranked. So there's a fly in there. I didn't know his mom was like ranked in the business and everything else. You know what I'm saying? Some higher up or something. But I didn't care. The thing is, he's traveling with his mom. He's learning how to do business. He's learning how to carry himself. And what I was telling him is, I noticed you. You had a real good conversation and everything else. Don't worry about this. And then I looked at him. He's like, "I'll make sure I get you." I was like, "Pay it forward." And then I just walked off and I was like, "Hey, you have a good one." Then when he saw me again, we gave each other a little, you know what I'm saying? And, just kept going. You don't have to catch me back, dude. Just pay it forward. You keep that energy going. You keep that positive energy rolling.
And I love the fact that he's not leaning on his mom to provide for him.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
He's on his own 2 feet to do what he has to do for himself. That's a beautiful thing. Well, family, listen, man, this hour went by crazy quick. Super excited to be in the building with these amazing thought leaders. You guys make sure you check them out on all social media platforms. Definitely when the show goes off today, they'll just put their handles. I know a lot of you guys use Instagram now for sure, so they can put their handles in the comments for you guys to follow them and connect with them. If you like anything that you heard on tonight, you want them to kind of connect with you for whatever the purpose or the reason is, definitely do that. And let's grow in grace together. Remember, not only to love you, but love them too. And we'll see you again for another edition of the P Coffee Round Show. Grace and peace. Good night, everybody.
Hey family, happy Sunday fun day. It's P Coffee Brown here in the great state of Texas by way of Houston, and I'm so excited to share with you a phenomenal move that we've just made. It's a chess move, not checkers. We're going from a national to international presence through a company called One House Global and Envision You. We're so excited to partner with them in this capacity as they expand their reach to go beyond the shores of the United States to reach every single continent, which for the most part they already have, but they're on round 2 of the international expansion. And I want you to see what it is that they're doing to see if it's a fit for your focus. The one thing that I want you to ask yourself, if you are still in a traditional environment, if I could show you a way to earn your entire income in 1 hour as opposed to 8, would you be open to knowing how to do that? If the answer is yes, type TNT and let's connect. Grace and peace. I hope you have a fantastic balance of your day. And again, happy Sunday to you and your entire house. And know that this thing right here is a money-making machine. You better believe it. Peace.